안녕하세요. Riding on the Korean wave. Welcome to a brand new week on The Culture Wave. I'm Kwon Soo-hwa in Seoul. Explore with us Korea's culture from all aspects with today's focus on K-entertainment and a special K-pop group, K-history, K-travel, K-everything. And we're going to do all of that together with my co-host Walter Lee. Hello, Walter.
Hello, Soa, and happy Monday to all our viewers at home. Walter Lee here, back to co-host and give you the latest in K-Enter news. That's K-entertainment, so stick around.
And we're also joined by Arirang's news features reporter Park Kwon-woo. Welcome, Kwon-woo.
Hello, Kwon-woo.
Thanks for having me. And also a big hello to our viewers. I'm Park Kwon-woo, news features reporter at Arirang News. I got some exciting news just for you today as well, so stay tuned.
Kwon-woo, you've been introducing us to some of the freshest K-pop acts in the scene, and you've met them face to face along the way. Now, today, I hear you're going to introduce us to yet another new boy band. Who is it?
That's true. So this time, a new boy band group that I met is called Universe. And what really caught my attention and why I decided to feature them is their diversity. That's because all of the members come from outside South Korea, including North Korea. But before I dive into their story, here's a look at my meeting with the boys. Alone, they're just individuals with different verses. But together, they create a story, a song, and a universe. That's how you could describe this brand new 5-piece K-pop group, Universe, which has 2 members who are North Korean defectors. It's extremely rare to see North Korean-born idol stars debut on the K-pop scene, which makes you wonder how they first got into K-pop.
I came across FX's La Cha Ta music video when I was young and heard K-pop songs through USBs passed around secretly.
Coming to South Korea at a young age was already a dangerous journey, but their struggle didn't end there.
My beloved family were still in the north, and while coming here allowed me to finally dream, I still felt like the loneliest of the lonely. The biggest battle was with myself, a fight I kept losing. But just having our members by my side filled that emptiness and gave me strength.
Even language was a hurdle, especially for rap.
I naturally speak in a North Korean dialect, but when I rap, I train myself to turn it off. As for English, I started with the ABCs and kept practicing until it finally started to feel natural.
Other members, Asian Americans Kenny and Nathan, and Japanese Aito also faced their own challenges.
Hardest part about training was the barrier of cultural barrier, right? So there's a lot of getting used to that, and also sentence structures. So I had to learn how to shape my mind into a Korean person.
Well, I've never been away from family for the past 23 years of my life. There's a lot of adjustment to do. However, with the guys now and the staff and everyone, they're like my second family. So.
Despite their different backgrounds, they found common ground in pursuing their dreams through music.
With diversity being a factor in our group, we learned that, hey, everyone's story is important. Everyone matters, and everyone deserves to be heard and deserves to be respected, despite wherever they come from.
They hope to be of comfort to others, and that very hope is what's guiding them toward their own dreams.
I had a time when I didn't even look up at the sky. Those hard times live in my lyrics now. To anyone watching us, even from the north, I want to say, dream.
5 different dreams in one universe. Universe is showing that K-pop no longer solely belongs to South Korea, but to those with dreams and passion, regardless of where they're from.
Well, K-pop beyond borders indeed. Wow, Kwon-woo. So you caught them up at their debut showcase. So
Yes.
was there anything unique on that day?
There was plenty of unique things there. The venue was packed with so many global fans, not just on site, but also people watching online. And also fans were able to buy these unique official merchandise, just like this physical album that I brought here in the studio with me.
Oh.
So this is their album, and if you can see, since the group is based on a multiverse concept, their album design has a very space-inspired look. And as these days, sustainability is a key consideration of in K-pop merchandising, Universe followed that trend by releasing a more compact-sized CD, just like this, as you can see on the screen right now. So if you compare it with my hand, you can compare the size. Yes. So their album feels a bit like a collectible toy, something you'd find at a place like Toys R Us, coming with stickers and also a poster and dispatch right here, that you can also see with me.
Oh, okay.
You're a
Yes.
fan then.
I mean,
I am.
these K-pop merch are getting more and more creative, and I mean that size is really very interesting because usually a CD size would cover your face, right, Konut?
Yes, it would cover my face, but this doesn't.
Well,
That's how I remember CDs anyway. But over the past couple of years, definitely there's been a massive diverse in K-pop groups, and it's great to see that this one, especially Universe, right, has the whole members are diverse, especially with the North Korean members. Very important for K-pop indeed. Can you tell us more about, embracing diversity within the K-pop scene?
Of course, so along with Universe, another new boy band called B-Boys also debuted this month, and they too have a member from the North. And it's not just these groups, but there are lots of K-pop acts now made up of multinational members, including Cat's Eye and Black Swan. Recently, some idols have even come out as part of the LGBTQ+ community. And we're also seeing more diversity behind the scenes with global talents joining K-pop songwriting and choreography. One expert said that's boosting K-pop's global appeal.
This trend shows how K-pop is becoming more universal, especially as the younger generation, which makes up the bulk of K-pop fans, places a strong value on inclusivity. The fact that K-pop has the cultural capacity to embrace such diversity adds to its image and value.
However, as concerns rise over K-pop possibly losing its Korean identity, the expert also warned that Korean producers must also work to preserve their original traits.
It's crucial for the Korean producers to continue their creative direction. As more K-pop groups debut on the global stage, there's been a tendency to prioritize English lyrics or foreign-friendly concepts, which in some cases may dilute K-pop's authenticity. That's why it's important to make a balance of K-pop's unique musical style with the interest of global fans.
Well, very interesting. And now the name of the boy group Universe, it really makes a sense. And seeing this increase in these diverse K-pop groups kind of lights up a little dream inside me as well.
Oh, really?
Well, thank you very much, Konu, for that report, and see you next time.
Thank you, Konu.
Thank you.
And now time for K-Enter News. Let's start with a K-animation, Walter, that recently made its debut in Korea, and that's significant.
Yes, I mean, we've been talking a little bit about Korean animation or American animation with Korean themes. The Korean animated film, The King of Kings, which made waves in North American box office, has now claimed the top spot in Korea, surpassing Brad Pitt's American sports drama film F1, which is a massive hit. According to the Korean Film Integrated Ticketing System on Monday morning, The King of Kings drew 127,984 viewers on Sunday. That was the first Sunday since its opening, officially landing at #1 at the domestic box office. Now, over its opening weekend, the film attracted more than 300,000 moviegoers. The film also ranked #1 in both seat occupancy and also sales rate as well. The movie premiered in the US during the Easter season, a very appropriate season in April, where it earned $60 million US, that's around 82 billion Korean won, in theaters. Why is this significant? Because it surpassed Bong Joon-ho's Parasite to become the most successful Korean film ever released in Hollywood.
Walter, you and I talked about whether this is going to be a domestic success just like in North America, but it looks like it's off to a successful start.
A great start.
And from one success to another success, let's talk about Blackpink.
Yes, Blackpink, of course, have claimed the #1 spot on Spotify's weekly chart for the second time with their latest single, Jump. Now, according to YG Entertainment, Jump topped the Spotify Weekly Top Songs Global Chart released last Thursday. This marks Blackpink's second #1 on the Spotify's weekly chart, following the success of their second album title track, Shutdown. Now, so far, Blackpink are the only K-pop group to have reached #1 on that chart twice. Now, released on July 11th, Jump racked up approximately 44 million streams on Spotify in just 1 week. The song also dominated the Spotify Daily Top Songs Global Chart, holding the #1 spot for 6 consecutive days. That was from July 12th to July 17th. In addition to its Spotify success, I did report on this, Jump reached to #1 on iTunes Top Songs chart in 61 countries. Its music video has also maintained the top position on YouTube's global daily trending music videos chart for 7 straight days. Blackpink are currently on their Deadline World Tour, with Toronto, Canada being their next stop.
Wow, great achievement. And now from Jump, we're going to talk about Rise.
Exactly. So Rise have expanded their first world tour with additional stops. The 2025 Rise concert tour will now include 8 cities across North America, including Rosemont, New York, Washington, D.C., and more. So for specific dates and venues, you can check out their social media platforms. Now, Rise have been impressing their fans with the genre of emotional pop, not to mention their diverse stage performances. Now, it's no wonder those extra dates are added and the fans are awaiting their performances. The tour kicked off in Seoul in early July and spans many cities around Asia and, of course, North America, eventually reaching 22 cities worldwide by February 2025.
Well, thank you very much for those updates, Walter, and stick around.
Will do.
And now we move on to our AI anchor, Ari, for more culture news. Ari, take it away.
Hello and welcome to your AI guide to the latest cultural updates from Korea. Here's our top story. Record-breaking downpours across Korea have caused widespread damage to national heritage sites. According to the Korea Heritage Service, 8 cases have been confirmed so far, involving national treasures, state-registered cultural properties, and others. In Sancheong, Gyeongsang-namdo Province, a pavilion at Yulgoksa Temple, believed to have been founded in 930 during the Silla dynasty, was severely damaged. In Suncheon, Jeollanamdo Province, a partial landslide blocked access to a scenic site surrounding Songgwangsa and Seonamsa temples on Mount Choge. Although not included in the official tally, the Banggude petroglyphs, recently inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, were submerged just 1 week after their listing. Authorities have launched emergency response efforts to prevent further damage and carry out full-scale restoration. Yoo Hong-jun, one of Korea's most prominent experts in the field of cultural heritage, has been named the new Director General of the National Museum of Korea. Yoo previously headed the Cultural Heritage Administration, now known as the Korea Heritage Service. He is also well known for his book detailing his cultural heritage explorations, which became the first million seller in the humanities category in the early 1990s. Describing the National Museum as the pride of Korea's cultural heritage and a beloved space for all Koreans, Yoo pledged to promote worldwide that the roots of K-art are deeply connected to Korea's cultural heritage. The popular event Seoul Light DDP, traditionally held only in autumn and winter, will be held this summer for the first time. From July 31st to August 10th, daily media art displays will begin at 8 p.m. under the theme Timescape, drawing on the historic significance of Seoul's Hanyang Fortress and the Igan Water Gate. The exhibition explores the passage of time and the emotions it carries through light reflected on water. A newly created water feature in the DDP Park area offers visitors a refreshing space to cool off during summer nights, while enjoying immersive media art and interactive exhibits centered around the theme of water. That's all from me. Stay tuned to the Culture Wave.
Here's a note to Arirang TV viewers. We are conducting a survey for our programs, including the Culture Wave, to meet our viewers' expectations. Please visit us at www.arirang.com or on the mobile app Arirang TV to give us your valuable feedback.
You also have a chance to win some Bluetooth earbuds and K-pop merch.
Gyeongju is hosting this year's Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. The APEC summit takes place in late October to early November this year. As a city that can best showcase South Korea's unique identity, Gyeongju may be seen as the root of Hallyu. With that in mind, today we want to take a look back at the history of the Korean wave from the period Korea joined APEC in 1989 until today. We're going to do that with Professor David Tizard at Seoul Women's University and Hanyang University, who is now connected with us. Hello, Professor Tizard.
Hello, Professor.
Good afternoon. It's great to see you both again.
Great to have you again on the show. Now, Professor Tizard, Korea joined APEC in 1989. Back then, no one really spoke about the Korean wave like we do today. There might have been some Korean songs that have become known overseas after the 1988 Seoul Olympics. But could you first give us an overall assessment of Korean culture before and after the late 1980s?
It's a wonderful question. So when we look at when Korea joined APEC in 1989, there were, as your other guest Gonu said, there were no North Korean singers, there were no AI assistants to help us. There wasn't even really K-pop. But perhaps the most important thing that happened in 1989, which is heavily related to everything that's happened since, is that on January 1st, 1989, South Korean people were for the first time freely allowed to embark on international travel. They were allowed to go to Gimpo Airport. They were allowed to choose where they wanted to go, whether it were to Europe and see the Eiffel Tower, to Japan, to Latin America, or to sub-Saharan Africa. They could go where they wanted. And we sometimes forget that sort of Korea has only really been interacting with the wider world for only about the last 35 years. It's only been a democracy for that long as well. So everything that's happened since then has been a real explosion of culture, interaction, and globalization. If you go back to the 1980s when all this was taking place, certainly K-pop wasn't a thing. The 1980s were marked locally, domestically, I should say, by singers dressed in suits and long evening gowns. And this was in stark contrast to the folk music of the 1970s. If you look at the 1980s, perhaps my favorite singer of that would be Lee Moon-se, but really big around that time was Byun Jin-sop. He had a couple of songs. Himang Sahang was probably one of the biggest ones. Heavy metal was popular, but perhaps what we see today we might trace back to a group called Sobangcha. They're sometimes cited by music critics as being the first K-pop group, and while they might look a little bit peculiar to us today, this was one of the first times they debuted in 1987 of seeing Korean people singing and dancing to music on stage.
Yes, but in the late 1990s, when I had a very ugly undercut haircut and following all the boy bands at the time, the Korean wave began to take off. Why did it take off around that time, do you think?
Well, I'm pleased to say, Walter, that you still look like a boy band member. Well done.
Thank you.
You've got that going strong. The late 1990s was marked by the Asian financial crisis, and this was a big hit to not just South Korea, but to Japan, to Singapore, to Taiwan, Hong Kong, China, and beyond. And it was really a really turbulent time. South Korea had already sort of started creating K-pop. Sotaji was way back in 1992. But what many people say, and I agree with this, the start of Hallyu. This is Korean products going abroad and achieving success. It was a Korean drama called Gyeolyeonga, or Winter Sonata as it's known in English. This was released in 2002, and it just became the biggest hit in Japan. It's like what Blackpink are doing Spotify charts today, or like Rise are doing as well. People in Japan, because of this one drama, and particularly because of the male actor Bae Young-jun, they started learning Korean language. They started buying calendars and CDs and poka, photo cards. They started coming to Korea to visit the locations, Nami Island and beyond. So this was really kind of the start of Hallyu, and it all began in Japan. It's worth also remembering, just in case you're not aware, that until 2002, there was a cultural ban in Korea on Japanese products. So while many of us grew up with Sony and Nintendo and Sonic and Mario, Pokemon, all of these things, that wasn't a thing in Korea. So this explosion really is very new.
겨울연가, 배용준, and 서태지, so many things that are evoking
Yeah.
nostalgia here, Professor Tizard. But now let's travel to year 2005. South Korea hosted its first APEC in the city of Busan back then, and it's also around that time that the Korean wave, or Hallyu, really started to get going. So what triggered that?
Yeah, and there is a lot of history. I know many people are interested in the groups that are creating waves today, and that's very important. Sometimes you need an old guy like me to tell you about history. And 2005 is an important year for me as well, personally, because that was the year that I first arrived in South Korea. I've been here 20 years. And when I did arrive, people were still sort of taken aback by seeing foreigners walking down the streets. They would point at me, young children, and say, "미국인 온다," and say, "There's an American." And I would sort of tell them that. But at that time in 2005, K-pop wasn't really even called K-pop in Korea. That started coming about 2 or 3 years later. And it's also worth pointing that K-pop and Hallyu, these are both foreign terms. These come from Chinese, Taiwan, Hong Kong journalists talking about this spread abroad. Internal in the country, 2005, you've got to look, this is kind of second generation K-pop, and it's at a time where you could hear K-pop on the radio, in the taxis, in the bars, on the streets. It's kind of called the golden age for a reason, because it was not only so big domestically here, and you're looking at groups like Super Junior, TVXQ, Dongbang Shingi, but it was starting to spread abroad. This was when the music, it was first the dramas, but then the music started going to places like Japan, like Taiwan, like the Philippines, really into Southeast Asia. And so while the rest of the world sort of has been catching up with Blackpink and these groups in the last few years, Asia's been on the scene for K-pop and Hallyu a lot longer.
Well, let's stay back in 2005. Which Korean concert was popular around that time then?
There was one of the more interesting ones was Korean hip hop was pretty popular at the time. So Teddy Park, the producer of YG, he's done sort of a lot of Blackpink, a lot of Big Bang music, and you could hear his work all over the Demon Hunters soundtrack. It stands out a mile. He was pretty popular with his group One Time, Hot Duga Duga Ha. He was the lead rapper of that. APEC High were also really big. So Korean hip hop was a thing back in 2005. You also have current artists that we might know now from television. Lee Hyori made her debut in that year, and she went on to become her solo debut, I should say. She was in Finkel before that, but she sort of became the nation's diva. Boa was just dominating, and I'm teaching a Hallyu course at the moment. All of my students are so deep into the K-pop culture. They asked me, "Professor, what is a boa?" And so this is someone, she was just #1 in both countries. Super Junior's Sorry was everywhere. But it is worth saying something about Korean movies, because I haven't done that. By 2005, Park Chan-wook was the darling of the world, because his films like JSA and Old Boy had been getting recognition from people like Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese abroad. So definitely the Hallyu thing had started across all mediums by then.
And now, Professor, 2 decades later, year 2025, Korea is going to host APEC in Gyeongju, which is often referred to as the museum without walls. So first off, how would you describe the city of Gyeongju?
It's really very difficult to describe the city, but I would describe it as a spiritual place, a religious place. And you know, Korea is, despite the changes with the new K-pop groups, and we see the identity of the North Koreans, the Korean Americans and beyond, which is wonderful, Korea is quite ethnically homogenous. At least that's the story it's told itself. But at the same time, Korea is multi-religious. This is a country, a civilization that has built its roots on shamanism, Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, Christianity, and secularism. And if you spend a lot of time in Seoul or maybe Busan, you won't feel much of the shamanism, of the Buddhism or the Sanshin that live in the mountains. But if you go to Gyeongju, wow, that's where this comes alive. That's when you see the more traditional side, the more spiritual side. I find the pace of life there is a lot slower. The photos you take are a lot different. So it's a place where you can not only Korea's history, but also remember diversity of cultures and traditions that South Korea has built its modernity on. And I think that's a very important lesson for us all.
Now, Professor Tizard, comparing Korea's culture from when the first APEC summit took place in 2005 to now in 2025, how do you see has Hallyu evolved? And also, as we're talking about APEC, do you think that international events like APEC have an impact on Hallyu itself or the popularity of Hallyu?
Do the events like APEC have an impact on Hallyu? Well, research, and I agree with this, will show not directly, because the fans of Hallyu are not kind of interested in APEC, and sometimes celebrities or singers are brought in to promote these things, and it can sometimes seem a bit random and have the opposite effect. What you're looking at with something like APEC is you're going to get a different crowd come in. These might be diplomats, business people, people that are not normally your target K-drama, K-movie, or K-pop audience. But when they come into Korea, they're going to be on an airline that's going to be offering them movies and dramas and music. They're going to be people that as they come here, they're going to want to learn more about the place. They're going to pick up books and magazines. And this is really important because it really spreads Korea's influence through a different demographic. And then another really important thing is that while the people are here for APEC, what they'll be doing is they'll be posting photos. I'm not sure if APEC people have Insta, but at least on LinkedIn and things like that. And then other people will see these photos. And the beauty of Korea and the story of Korea will be spread through a completely different demographic and part of society. So I think while it may not have the glitz and the glamour of a K-pop concert or a red carpet event for a movie, this is really important because, Korea has been working towards being able to host these events for a long time. And that the world is willing to come here and embrace Korea, it's just such a very wonderful thing. And I really think it will help the country.
Right, and these days we also have K-pop stars playing the role as ambassadors of things like APEC. Well, thank you very much, Professor Tizard. That's all the time we have today. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you for the nostalgia. See you next time.
And thank you, Walter, as always. We're going to see you back here tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you for spending the past half an hour with us on the Culture Wave. Please join us again tomorrow on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Korea time.